What's up, YouTube? Um, so I got something important to say here, um, which is that I think that turns out there is more to be said about what I was saying about the oil change. Like, stop going to the oil change. Um, I just realized it recently, which is that, well, turns out it's probably not as simple as I was saying for how you can manage to not go to the oil change and just get away with it, like, scratch free or whatever. Like, I think there's more complications to it. I mean, this is pretty much implied, of course, that there's more complications to it based on the things I've talked about recently, but I just, it occurred to me recently that there is a kind of an issue or a risk. There's a big risk if you try to just not go to the oil change the way I said, because, well, if you do, you're pretty much just gonna, how do I say this? It's really gonna mess you up if you do that, because, first of all, oil gets bad even if no debris gets inside of it. And I know that what I was saying is, like, when I was talking about, like, debris comes from oxide. Oxide forms at a certain temperature in the engine. But the funny thing is, if you think about it, based on what I talked about with substances, liquids, gases, and solids, certain levels of heat or cold get inside of them, puts pressure on the walls, the inner walls of the substances, which can harden or soften the substance. So oil, of course, being liquid, wouldn't be any exception. So over time, it's going to get weaker or stronger and change just naturally from the accumulation of accumulation of gases will get inside the oil and liquids. So they change over time just naturally. You can see the color change from this, because that's the temperature change. And so basically, if this is the case, then it's pretty obvious that, like, the oil, like, say, like, a month from when you got the oil change, could go bad naturally without any solid debris getting in. It's just no longer the right element or temperature, because the color is different, to no longer correct, to be compatible with your specific engine, to not cause, like, some excessive amount of pressure on the engine parts. They're like, small chain reactions. So it's like, and that's one part of it. The other part of it is, even if you have a good oil filter that's, like, I mean, first of all, you got to check your oil filter. You got to check everything yourself. Like I was saying, if you can actually confirm that everything in your car is working well, then it's safe to just not go to the oil change, as long as you don't reach a certain temperature when driving. But that's not true. If your car doesn't reach a certain temperature, then it seems to be safe, but that's not true, because, like I said, the oil naturally can degrade from those gases. So realistically, I'd recommend take a vacuum cleaner, put it into the oil hole when you pop the hood on your car, and just suck up all the oil that doesn't have solid debris inside of it. Just or maybe it does, but just suck it all up. Have a strong vacuum that has a strong suctioning force to do it. Get it out, and then inspect the oil, of course, because now whatever you put it into, it's in your vacuum cleaner. Like, you open the top of the vacuum cleaner, you can see what went into it. So just look at it from there, and just inspect it to make sure that there's nothing in there that shouldn't be. And if there's no solid debris in it, make sure that the oil is the right color and that it's, you know, the color that it's supposed to be to match what your car is naturally designed to handle. That's the right element, right temperature. And you can do it that way, or you can actually just take that oil out and just put in some kind of lubricant liquid that is like just as good. Like, they don't teach you that you can put cooking oil in your car's engine, but you never know until you really research to see if it's the right level of pressure for it. Common teaching is just to, you know, shun these sorts of thoughts. You know, they want people to think, you know, they want people to be like women and not be submissive and don't think about this stuff, okay? But look, it's not good to do this, to do that stuff, okay? It's dangerous thinking. Okay, and I've just said this my entire channel, obviously. It's better to think for yourself. Okay? So yeah, and just if you do that, and you check what you're looking at, and you also see which liquids are good as substitutes, like I said, you never know if cooking oil is good enough. When I talked about gas for your tank, you never know if gas is good enough as an alternative. I mean, sorry, not gas, but you know, soda or juice. You never know if they're good enough. If the density of them is close enough to gas to be able to do the same thing, put the same level of pressure on these parts to have the same combustion process happen, or quite close to it. So, you know, again, you never know until you test it out yourself. You don't have to put it in your engine to test it out. You just have to do certain measurements prior to putting it in your engine. Like, if I had like a glass of water and then put right next to a glass of soda, and I want to see which one has, or if I had a glass of juice next to a glass of soda, and I want to see which has more pressure, you could just put both of them on a well-calibrated scale, mini scale, that have the same, you know, measurement system, and like it'll tell you which one. You know, there's a lot of online sources that say, well, you know, soda is what's really more heavy than water, and then another will say water is more heavy than soda. Test it out yourself. Just get a well-calibrated measure scale at the dollar store, or if you already have one, just use that. Put a glass of soda next to a glass of juice on these two, on the same one scale. Test out to see what really weighs more. You know, put the same amount, same volume of both, but see what has higher weight, and that'll tell you, you know, can you get away with this? You know, stop getting gas. And you do the same thing for oil, you know, your oil substitutes, and that'll tell you what you can do to stop going to the oil change without worrying about your oil naturally degrading. Now, I'm not saying your oil will naturally degrade necessarily. It depends how you use your car. Because if you have your oil and there's gases getting into it, changing the color and element of it, what direction is it? You know, is it getting darker colors or lighter colors? And you know, that's up to you. You can control how much of what kind of gases you put in there. Depends on how you drive, where you drive, etc. So, you know, realistically speaking, yeah, there's like pretty much nothing else to say about this. Pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, that's the true way to stop going to the oil change. That in a way that you really should just stop going. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.